Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to learn about the physiology of oral cavity. First of all, what is oral cavity? Oral cavity is the first part of digestive system that is responsible for the ingestion and initial digestion of food. The the first part of digestive system that is responsible for ingestion and initial digestion of food. In the oral cavity, we will learn about the structures which are conspicuous in this diagram. In this diagram, you can see that oral cavity start from. There is a bit. Okay. In this diagram, you can see that the oral cavity start from lips from this area. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Start from this area to this area. From this portion to this portion, the oral cavity is represented. Oral cavity is represented from this portion to this portion. Now, what is this portion and this portion? This is the upper lip and this is the lower lip. This is the upper lip and this is the lower lip. In between the lips, this space is called mouth. This space is called mouth, and I will write accordingly. First of all, the oral cavity. Oral cavity from lips to uvula. The oral cavity extends from the lips to uvula. This part of oral cavity is called uvula. This part, which you can see in the diagram, this part is called uvula, and this part is called. These are called lips. These are called lips, and this is called uvula. The first part of digestive system that is responsible for the ingestion of food. The food is ingested from the outside environment into the oral cavity. This is the ingestion. Ingestion is to take food from outside environment into the oral cavity. That is called ingestion. And swallowing is another phenomena in which the pharynx and the oral cavity both are involved, which is the passage of food from the oral cavity to the esophagus, in which the oral cavity and pharynx both are involved. But we will learn about that later. First, what are different structures in the oral cavity? First part of the oral cavity is the lips, and the last part of the oral cavity that is the uvula. This is the uvula. Now, coming towards the next one. Now you can see that the space between the two lips, this is actually called mouth. Mouth is not the whole area. The whole area is called oral cavity, but the space between the two lips, that is called mouth. The space between the two lips is called mouth, through which the food is ingested. This is called mouth. Mouth is just a space. There is no structure of mouth. There is no structure which represent mouth. Mouth is actually a hollow space. Mouth is actually the space between two lips. This is called mouth. Now, from that onward, first mouth. This is just the space between the two lips. Then after the mouth, the space between the teeth. These are the teeth, and these are the lips. This space, or you can also see in this diagram, this space the space between the gum and the lips. This is called oral vestibule. This is called oral vestibule. This is called oral vestibule. This is oral vestibule. These are the lips. These are the teeth. These are teeth. Number of teeth are there. This is the uvula. This is the uvula. So first of all, the food is ingested into the mouth, and then it goes into the vestibule, and then goes into the goes between the teeth. Now various types of teeth are there. First of all, this is gum. This area of the mouth, this area of the oral cavity, this is called gum. Gum, or you can also call it gingiva. Then number of teeth are there. Number of teeth are there. Now these are the teeth, various types of teeth. I am going to explain it later. But after teeth, you can see on the upper side. On the upper side of the oral cavity, you can see that this portion. This is called hard palate. You can touch your hard palate with the help of your tongue. This is called hard palate, where that represents the rope of the hard palate. That represents the roof of the oral cavity. And then after hard palate, there is soft palate. That also represents the roof of the oral cavity. But this is from this area to this area. From this area to this area, this is called hard palate. You can detect this hard palate with the help of your tongue. If you touch your tongue on the hard palate, you will observe it as hard, and this area will be observed as soft. This is soft palate, where there is no bone upside. There is no bone. And this is the hard palate. There is a bone. This is actually maxilla. Where there is maxilla, there is the hard palate, and where there is no bone, there is soft palate. So this is the roof of the oral cavity. This is the roof of the oral cavity. The roof of the oral cavity is composed of the hard palate and soft palate. The soft palate, behind the soft palate, there is oropharynx. There is nasopharynx. Behind the soft palate, there is nasopharynx, and behind the hard palate, there is nasal cavity. There is nasal cavity behind the hard palate, and behind the soft palate there is nasopharynx. So this is the hard palate, and this area is the soft palate. And then after soft palate, this structure is called uvula. This structure is called uvula. I'm going to explain its function later. Now after uvula, you will also see after soft palate there is uvula. After uvula, you will also see your hair. This is tongue. This area, this is tongue. With the tongue is located in the middle of the oral cavity. That is very important structure of the oral cavity that is responsible for the rolling of food. Tongue is responsible for the rolling of food. This if there was no tongue, you cannot chew your food, because it push the food in between the two teeth. This is responsible for the rolling of food. So in the crushing of food, in the chewing of food, the tongue is having a very important function, because it it put the food in between the two teeth. It put the food in between the teeth. If there was no tongue, then it will be difficult for the food to come in between the two teeth. So the tongue is responsible for the rolling of food. Main function of the tongue is rolling of food. Tongue is also having many other functions like a taste and making voice and many other functions, but here in digestive process, the function of tongue is to roll the food in between the teeth. Okay. uh, beneath the tongue, oh, okay, on this side of the tongue, or on this side of the oral cavity, on the lateral side of the oral cavity, lateral side, these are the lateral side of the oral cavity, where there is no lip, there is actually cheeks are present. Cheeks, I think, yes. This cheek and this cheeks are present. Now coming toward the teeth, there are many types of teeth in the oral cavity. First of all, these four teeth. Focus on these four teeth, these four and these four teeth. These four teeth are called, incisor. There are four incisor upside and on the upper side, and four incisor on the lower side. Four incisor in the upper jaw and four incisor in the lower jaw. And in the incisor, two are the central incisor and two are the lateral incisor. Two central and two lateral incisor. These are incisor. These are incisor. Two central incisor which are big and are large, and two lateral incisor. This one is lateral incisor, this one is lateral incisor, this is central incisor. Similarly, this is central incisor, and these two are lateral incisor. After the incisor, this teeth and this teeth, or here this teeth and this tooth, this is called canine. You can also call it canine. That represent the teeth just like animal. What is the function of incisor? Incisor is actually responsible for the incision of food, to incise the food. Incision is to incise the food, to cut down the food, to cut down the large food particle into small food particle for chewing purpose. So this is for to incise. Uh, canine is also having the same function, but that type of food which cannot be incised with the help of incisor, then canine do the same work. Canine is also present very efficiently with efficient function in the animals. Um, After canine, these are the canine. This one is canine, and this one is canine. This one is canine, which is having a sharp tip also. After the canine, this one, and over here, this one, and this one. These are called premolar. These are called premolar. Pre mean before, and molar mean molar. Molar which are present over here. These are the molar teeth. Molar teeth. These are the molar teeth, and molar teeth are responsible for chewing up food. These are actually responsible for chewing. The premolar is also responsible for chewing up food, but that is not having the main function as chewing. The actual function of chewing has been done by the molar. These are the molar. After the premolar, there is molar, and after the molar, there is sometimes there is present in the last this one, uh, and here in the last, that is called wisdom tooth. or wisdom teeth. Wisdom teeth is not responsible for chewing, but sometimes it can work as for chewing when this is aligned position. The wisdom teeth is normally not in aligned position. Now all of these are aligned. You can see that all of these are aligned. You can see that all of these are aligned, but in the wisdom tooth which generally occur here, that is not aligned. That is not generally aligned. Not aligned, but if the wisdom teeth is aligned, then you can use this teeth these teeth for chewing purpose, but this is not generally for chewing, uh, because this is not generally in aligned position. This is not aligned. Then the hard palate, um, you can see that the oral cavity is surrounded by a lot of very structure. Then on the upper structure there is this is hard palate. On the lateral side this is there is cheek, and on the lower side there is gum. There on the lower side there is the tongue. So when you put the food in the inside the oral cavity, when you ingest the food over here, then the chewing start. You start chewing. You roll the food in between the teeth. During this rolling, the cheek provides one boundary. The the hard palate provide boundary. What are, actually we are going to learn about the functions. So what is the function of this area? The hard palate provide the upper boundary of the for the food. This provide the lateral boundary, this cheek and this cheek. And actually in the cheek there is some muscles which are present inside the cheek. Those muscles are called buccinator muscle. These are called buccinator. So the function, what is the function of buccinator? Buccinator muscle usually contract when these two teeth, the upper jaw and lower jaw, press each other. When these come in contact, when the upper jaw and lower jaw come in contact with each other forcefully, then the buccinator muscle which are present in the cheek contract. The buccinator muscle contract because to not to allow the food to go in the cheek in this area. If the buccinator muscle are not functional, then it will be difficult for the food to come in between the two jaws and cut down efficiently. So the function of the buccinator is to give a strong limit to the food. On the lateral side, buccinator muscle actually contract when the upper jaw and lower jaw come in contact with each other during chewing. During chewing, when the upper jaw and lower jaw, when the upper molar teeth and lower molar teeth come in contact with each other, the buccinator muscle, the adjacent buccinator muscle of the cheek contract. And this contraction this contraction is not to allow the food to go into the cheek, to be cut down efficiently, to provide a hard boundary to the food. Similarly, in the some muscles are also present here in the lips. In the lips, some muscles are there. Those muscles are called, where is lip? Okay, some muscles are present in the lip. Those are called orbicularis. Orbicularis muscles are actually responsible for the orbicularis muscles usually contract when the upper jaw and lower jaw come in contact with each other forcefully. The orbicularis and buccinator muscle contract combinedly, but orbicularis muscles are present in the lips. In the lips, orbicularis muscles are present, and in the cheeks, the buccinator muscles are present, and both of these contract during the chewing process. When the upper jaw and lower jaw come in contact with each other, then the buccinator muscle and the buccinator muscles of the cheek and the orbicularis muscles of the lips contract, not to allow the function of these muscles are not to allow the food to go beyond the teeth, in teeth. Okay. After this one, now you will also learn about you can also see your hair, this area below the tongue. There is a layer structure. This is called this is called frenulum. Frenulum are two types. One is lingual frenulum, and the other is lingual and labial. Labial frenulum represent the frenulum of the lips, and the lingual frenulum represent the frenulum uh, of the tongue. This is the frenulum of the tongue. This is the frenulum of the tongue, which this actually connect the tongue with the with the lower part of the oral cavity, with the actually this connect the tongue with the gums. The frenulum, the function of the frenulum is connect the tongue with the gums, and the function of this frenulum, this is called labial frenulum, is to connect the lips with the gums. To connect the lips with the gums, this is labial frenulum, and this is the lingual frenulum. Okay. Some glands are also there inside the oral cavity. There are actually to know about the gland we will learn about later. But first of all, for example, this is the last part of the oral cavity. Not this. I will get this one. For example, this is the last part of the oral cavity. Last part. This one. This is the last part of the oral cavity, which opens into the pharynx. Over here, this is what we call uvula. I will draw uvula over here. So this is uvula. Beside the uvula are you can also draw over here on the lateral side. On the lateral side, two glands are present, but these glands are not in the oral cavity. These are beyond the oral cavity. Two glands are there, one over here and one on this area on the lateral side. These are called tonsils. On the lateral side, tonsils are present, but tonsils are not present inside the oral cavity. This tonsils are present on the border of the oral cavity. Actually, this major portion of the tonsil are present inside the pharynx, but a smaller portion of the tonsil are present inside the oral cavity. This make the lateral border of the oral cavity. These are called the tonsils. Tonsils. On the upper side, you will also see over here, which are adjacent to two adjacent glands over here. On this side and in this side. If you open your mouth and see in the mirror, you can see these two glands, and these two glands which are over here beside the uvula, these are called adenoid glands. Tonsils and adenoid glands, these are very important glands. Adenoid glands, tonsils and adenoid. Tonsils glands are present. Both the tonsils and adenoid glands are actually lymphatic nodules. These are lymphatic glands. which are responsible for scanning up various for scanning up lymph, that is a type of serum. So the adenine, on the lateral side, this opening on the lateral side, the tonsils are present, and on the upper side, adjacent to the uvula, this one and this one, these are called adenine glands. These are called what? These are called adenine glands. Now coming towards the salivary gland, where are salivary glands present? Salivary glands are of three types. Salivary glands are of three types. Not written over here. Salivary glands. Salivary glands are basically having three main types. One is the sublingual, other is submandibular, and the third one is parotid salivary gland. Sublingual salivary gland, submandibular salivary gland, and parotid salivary gland. And these all of these salivary glands are two in number. Two sublingual, two submandibular, and two parotid. Means all of these glands are in pairs. All of these glands are in pair. But the largest gland out of these three types of glands are parotid gland. Largest gland is called parotid gland. Where is parotid gland present? We will focus on this diagram. For example, I will show you this gland on the whip. Salivary glands. So three types of salivary glands are there. This one, I think this diagram is good. In this diagram you can see, also in this diagram you can see three types of gland. This is called parotid gland, salivary gland. This one is called submandibular gland, and this one is called sublingual gland. Sublingual gland is that gland which is present below the lingual, below the tongue. Below the tongue, the sublingual gland is present. It is having the least capacity. This is submandibular, which is present below the mandible. Mandible is the this is the mandible. This is the mandible on which the jaw is present. The mandible is actually the bone below the mandible. The submandibular gland is present, and this is parotid gland. Parotid derived from the word para and otid. Para and otid. Para mean parallel or aside. Para for parallel, and otid for what? Otid for ear. So para mean adjacent or parallel, which is present adjacent or parallel with the ear. This is ear, and this is the parotid. So the gland which is present parallel with which is present adjacent with the ear, that is called parotid. This is having the largest capacity, this is having the least capacity, and this is having the intermediate capacity of the production of saliva. Now if there is no production of saliva inside the oral cavity, there is no production of saliva, then that condition will be called xerostomia. Xerostomia is the condition. Xerostomia is the condition where the xerostomia is actually, this is also called dry mouth. No production of No production of saliva by salivary gland inside the mouth. That is called xerostomia. One another terminology, stomatitis. Stomatitis. All the terminology in which TIS is there in the law, that means inflammation. So stomatitis is the inflammation of mouth, of the oral cavity. Mouth, oral cavity, inflammation of oral cavity, that is called stomatitis. And the overproduction of saliva. Sometimes saliva is produced in very large amount, and that leads to the decay of saliva outside the oral cavity. That is called drooling. This is the overproduction of, secretion and overproduction both. Secretion of saliva by salivary gland. This usually the drooling usually happen in the rabid dog. Rabid dog. In the rabid dogs, which is infected by the rabies virus, that represent drooling. Drooling is actually the overproduction of saliva inside the so the gums in this area. So this area is the mouth. This area is the vestibule. This area from teeth up to uvula, this area, this is called FAUCE. F-A-U-C-E. I will write it here. F-A-U-C-E, FAUCE. FAUCE is the space or the cavity between the teeth and the uvula. This is called FAUCE. Okay, the tongue is actually this consists of skeletal muscle, which is connected with the hyoid bone at the end, and also with the mandible, and one other bone that is called styloid process, mastoid process. Okay, the tongue is connected with the hyoid bone at the end, the mastoid process, and the and over here with the mandible. Now coming toward the medicine, if you put the medicine inside the oral cavity, if you are going to put some medicine inside the oral cavity, then you will apply the medicine below the tongue. If you put a tablet or pill below the tongue, then that medicine will be called sublingual medicine or sublingual tablets. Actually, those are sublingual tablets which are put below the tongue. Those are sublingual tablets. And if you put some medicine inside the oral vestibule, then those medicine will be called buccal medicine or buccal tablets. Buccal tablets are put over here. Over here, the buccal tablets are present, just like the snuff, which you call naswal in Pashto and Urdu. The buccal tablets are put over here, while the sublingual tablets are put over here. Sublingual tablets are, for example, tablets for angina, angina pectoris. The tablets are the pills are put over here. And for example, fentanyl, one of the painkiller, the opioid analgesic, the fentanyl is put over here. That is the buccal tablet. Okay, this was all about